Hey guys, I'm at another cemetery. This one's really old. This is the Yellow Creek Cemetery in Middlesboro, Kentucky. Has a lot of history. We're here today because we've been decorating my grandparents and my great-grandparents and great-aunts and uncles. I'll show you our lot. It's right here. Let me open it up here. We just finished weed eating and blowing the leaves off, but it's a really nice little lot. Kind of stays shady all year, so we try to keep it clean. Got a new fence a couple of years ago for it because it did just have a, right here's what it had, just an old barbed wire fence. How they did, but yeah, they have a lot of history in this one. I'm going to show you a little bit. Some of the couple of stones that I've walked all over this thing ever since I was little, but never really paid attention to a lot of stuff until recently. I'm going to go right over here and show you this, which may make, oh, there's a little cracked, looks like popping bird eggs. This guy right here, somebody really got ticked off. If you notice, he was part of the Oddfellows by the chain on his grave. And look right below that. KKK, Junior Sharp. He died in 1924. Buddy, I tell you, I don't know about that. It's nothing to be proud of, but there was KKK in Middlesboro at one time. And I reckon it was, you know, Middlesboro was kind of wild back in the day. Here's some old ones. Tail. I like this one. Very unique. Instead of a dove, they've got a little child sleeping. You know, I've never noticed that one. Isn't that beautiful? I just love these beautiful stones. I'm gonna bring some more stuff up here and clean it. But we got Davis and gullies, shekels. There's just all. I mean, this is a really old cemetery. It used to be called the Turner Cemetery. Or, I'm sorry, I got that totally backwards. It's now called the Turner Cemetery. And it used to be called Old Yellow Creek Cemetery. There's somebody that died in 1915, Stanford. Really, really old. And used to, when I was growing up, they was just paths. All of that you see over there that's cleared up, it was all grown up. You could not see anything but briars and, you know, just weeds. This cemetery has a lot of unmarked graves. A lot of old graves. And if I'm not mistaken, it is one of the oldest cemeteries in Middlesboro, Bell County. There's some more of our family. We always, I don't know why that he's buried outside the plot. I guess he would maybe died before they got the plot, and then we always try to fix this when I've got to fix it. This one's a family member. It's my grandmother's sister's baby. So I guess they buried them together there. So we always try to decorate hers too, because nobody should be without flowers. But I'm gonna give you a little bit more tour. There's a lot of babies buried in this cemetery. A lot. The headstones, they're beautiful headstones. There's Yuri, a lot of Yuris. You know, Lee Majors was a Yuri, Harvey Yuri, that grew up here in Middlesboro. Actually went to school with my mother, and he's not buried here. Here's another Oddfellows guy, died in 1919. So it's a pretty old cemetery. Then we've got Sanders. All of this over here that don't have anything, they actually do. If I walk on back, you can see some sunken graves. There's lots of markers. Goes on down, way on down in here. It's beautiful. It's a really pretty cemetery. Like I told you before, when I was little, you couldn't get in this part of the cemetery. There is some more little babies. I mean, back then the babies are just full. Little Edith, and that's a Reverend Golden, and another, I guess, but yeah, that's his wife. Unmarked graves. You can see where they've left stones for. They've got stones piled up in random places in this cemetery, I guess, for when, you know, they did have unmarked graves. So there's some stones, and there was some over there next to where my grandparents were buried, or are buried. They do take care of the cemetery a lot better than they used to. I wanted to show you some more history right up here. It's pretty cool. The Turners, which I think they maybe founded Middlesboro or part of it. Here's a Turner guy. He died in 1918. But the coolest thing is right over here. This one died in, this is a Branscombe. He died in 1900 and 1903 with his and hers. So in my father's house are many mansions. So you can see how pretty that would be if that was cleaned up. There's another Turner. '82 years old, Mary Jane Turner. But right over here is Mary Jane Turner's son. And he was one of the first settlers, hello Gregory, of Middlesboro. Born in 1777. Let me come a little closer so you guys can see. Died at 104 years of age. Now that is cool. You know, people really didn't live long back in those days, but he proved them wrong. And there's his little plot. Now something else is really cool in this cemetery is this plot right here. All of those monuments there, they don't belong to this plot right here. I'm going to stand up here so you guys can see it. It's just an empty plot. This is other people, but in this empty plot is buried the men that was murdered in the Quarter House Massacre event that took place here in Bell County, on the line of Bell County in Tennessee. We'll put up a story about that later. But yeah, this is where they're buried. You can also find that story on East Tennessee Outdoors. Donnie Laws, a great story. Just look up the Quarter House Massacre. Sorry for the traffic. It's right over the ridge line there. There is a train that comes through here too. There's some train tracks you may can see. But these guys died, my grandmother always said, they died with their boots on. So that's a pretty interesting little story. It really is. It's, you know, I think when the rangers or whatever would come to arrest them, they had the state line that ran right through the building. So all they did was just move to the other side of the building and they couldn't be arrested. So yeah, but these people here are not a part of that. They're actually buried on the outside of the thing, but you can tell it's a pretty big plot. I'm not sure how many people is in here, but it's a really interesting story. Of course, we're in Middlesboro and we got a lot of four-wheelers, so I'm gonna go over here and look at this one here. You can see where people have made paths now. Coming from the dollar store, going through the graveyard. So Really weird that there's rust looking on that grave. Let's see what that is. William Parrott, died in 1916. Just 24 years old. Well, I can imagine how, if we clean those up, how beautiful these would be. As you can tell, I mean, I've come out here before and there'd be deer just grazing. So, yeah, it's a really, really old cemetery. There's some griffins. It's another part of the wall where they made for the massacre guys. I'm gonna flip on over here. All right, still in the old part of our cemetery there. Used to, they would come and sometimes they would damage them, but they've actually not been so bad at that lately. There's a Marcy. Oops, walk on over this way. Let's see what's on over this way. Okay, there's some more Turners. You can see a lot of headstones that are unmarked. Like I said, God knows who they are. They're not forgotten. This is a little plot, unmarked graves. These are little Turners here. I believe these are all baby graves. Yeah. Born dead, and this one lived about a year, a few months. This big old tree, guys. Oh, that's one big tree. Oh, if that thing falls, it'll take out this grave. There's some more little plots made. That's where we came from. Yeah, more Turners. Well, somebody was nice enough to leave their trash. Kind of afraid to look down that hole of that tree, but I'm sure something probably made a home there. Now this kind of makes me mad, but it's also kind of weird too. As it looks like, that's a whole half gallon of milk that's not even been opened. Neither have these Land O'Lakes, except that one, maybe an animal. Whole half gallon of milk. Maybe something spooked them. I've heard a lot of tales that my uncles told that they was scared here when they was growing up, because my mother was born across that road on that hill. So they had to walk through this cemetery to go to school. And they was terrified. They heard sounds. My mother heard a sound. I mean, it's crazy. But I just wanted to show you this old cemetery. And I hear another four-wheeler or something, of course. We're in Middlesboro, so not down in it, but I like quiet places. But it's beautiful here. It's very quiet when people are off the road. So, yeah, this is the Turner Cemetery. Maybe number 3. Maybe number 1. There's Greg again. But it used to be called the Old Yellow Creek Cemetery, what we always call it anyway, because that's what we always knew. So it was just, not too long ago they changed the name. Don't know why they changed names, but we have more graves, pretty old ones over there on that other side also. That's for another time. So we're going to go. We've got some more cemeteries to go to today to decorate, and I'm going to show you a real cool one, the very last one we go to. A really cool one. You're going to love it. So I will see you then. Bye-bye.